Hey everyone, Michael here. Welcome back to another plein air painting video. If you're enjoying these, hit that like button or let me know in the comments below. I find myself back in Langley City Park at my favorite ravine. I really like painting in this ravine. It has a lot of interesting trees. There's one tree in particular I like to paint. However, this time around you'll see a tree has fallen on the other side that I usually paint on. So I have to tackle it from this side. Now after looking at this tree for a while, I started deciding on a composition that I think would work best. So I start laying it out here, pushing the tree to the far right, trying to get the flowing feel of that tree coming out of the ground on the left hand side there. And the fallen tree provides a nice contrast to the vertical element of the larger tree in front. And here I start laying in the roots, trying to get the swooping feeling to the left. The idea being with this composition, you'll come in from the left, come through the dirt into the root system and following up the tree, but you'll be stopped by a couple elements that I want to create a little bit later. And as well, within this video there's about 2 or 3 different areas I'm going to slow down to normal speed and really address some simple tips and tricks you can use to improve your paintings. And there I lay down the background tree line, which provides another overlapping element. This will also provide shape variation within the painting. Here going in and working on the water line where the water meets the ground. And really, this is all the sketching I need before I start getting down into painting. Here I jump straight into color, bright vibrant blue, cobalt I believe. I wanted a blue tree just to create a statement more than anything. And I start laying in the metal in the background, trying to pick the right value for that metal, and I bring it forward just to fill the canvas. I will adjust that a little bit later. I go back into the background trees. You'll see me start laying them in, trying to get that sort of muted gray mid-tone. But you'll notice what's important here is adjusting the temperature within that same value range, so you have some warmers and coolers within there, and you can sort of, your eye goes in and out of those temperature differences without having a lot of detail. And this is the great part here. You take your paper towel, you start blotting your board, and it starts to reveal the white underneath, and you get instant foliage without having to paint every leaf. So great tip to incorporate into your own plein air painting. Adding some darks in here just to give a little bit more sense of depth, you'll see right there, and I just pretty much leave it at that. Then I move on to just the value in the metal a little bit back there. Moving forward, start laying in the dark, rich, warm tones of the water. And this is the area coming up right now where I'll move in and I'll test the value, and I'll test it again. And this value right here is a little bit the same value as the water, but I want it lighter and cooler, so I adjust it and place it in. So then you can see this is the importance of testing your values on your painting instead of your palette. And I throw it in a little bit into the water, and then you'll see the land is pretty much the same value as that cool water that I added. It's just a warmer temperature is all. Looks like next we're going to put in the tree there. Notice how I brought the tree trunk over to the side of the right of that blue tree just to give it another sense of depth. Just laying in reminders for branches on that tree as well. And a little more branches here and there. The tree being more of an orangey sienna, which is a muted complementary to the blue tree as well. I'm going to finish off with a little bit of water on the outside just to fill in the canvas. So now I can really judge my values. With the white canvas, sometimes it fools your eye into thinking something's a little bit darker or lighter than it should be. And so within that area I'm mixing some warmer and coolers, some blues and greens, so it looks like the reflections of the foliage in the background there. Now for the blue tree, I'm going on the one side and lightening it so I can get a sense of how the light's going to hit the tree. And then you can see I go into the dark side with a nice, warm, cool purple, I guess you could say, depending on how you look at it. It's warm compared to the blue, but cool compared to the green. And the halftone ends up being a really warm violet purple, which really helps make everything get dimension. With some pink highlights throughout. You'll notice later on I throw in some orange highlights. And you see me play with the background there a little bit, throwing on some more lights on the tree. And there's the orange. Now you can see it really starts to give that form quite a bit. And because there's less orange than pink, less pink than violet, less violet than blue, it all kind of works together. And darkening the grasses there in the foreground, sort of making sure the concentrating of the meadow grass is the lightest, closest to the tree. and putting in some light reflections in the water as well. Some sky reflections in the water, just to give the sense that it is water compared to grasses or say dry land. In the background in the various areas, just giving a sense of dead limbs or trees or branches in the background. And here I'm starting to put in the shadows of the branches here. And most time branches will have 2 values at most to give them a sense of dimension. You don't really need more than that when you're dealing with a tree that's not really that important. The branches aren't important. The painting is important. And darkening it up in the water there. Throwing a variety of color in there, throwing some orangey greens in. A little more green to try to catch that foliage right against that land. And some lighter greens to dance off the, light dancing off the leaves kind of idea. And a little bit darker to create the shadows of that foliage. And a little bit of more sky reflection in that water. And you'll see me play with that a little bit further. Right now I create the structure of the water, and later on I create the ripples. And a little bit of wiping off, rid of excess paint, or to make sure I try to lighten that value. You can see here these wipes, great way in oil painting to create instant water reflections without overdoing it. And warming up that grass, the idea, the bottom left hand corner is cooler, and as it goes towards the tree it becomes warmer, so it kind of draws your eye in. And then I'm doing the branches on the tree here, trying to give a sense of just character of what I see, not necessarily exactly what I see. More of a representation. And then right here I'm going to show you how I do a branch. More or less just take my dark, put it in where I want it, and right after that put in a light, and there we go. And that's it. That's all the detail the branch ever needs. You get a sense of the branches, but without having to do all the detail of the branches. And just adjusting the values here and there. Adding some more pinks throughout that tree to give it a little more character. And now I really start to push the chroma of that background meadow. You can see how it popped there, and it really highlighted the tree. A nice contrast there with the meadow and the dark of the tree. Adjusting the ground there a little bit. Interplaying in that water, mixing some greens in there as well. Making sure I don't get rid of those wiped reflections. And I'm wiping again in the back there, but you'll see me brush over them to break them up a little bit. You don't want everything too linear, too rigid. And the rigger, great little brush, creating grasses and a little bit of ripples in the water. And I'll go in and I'll you'll see me blur some of those grasses a little bit right there, and then put a few more in, because I don't want too much detail over there. I want you to go through that area and up to the tree. A few more pinks to guide you in. And here's one thing I want to show you. I've laid the base for the water, and now I'm just using my rigger to create the squiggles on the water. Sort of the highlights of the little waves that you see in the babbling brook. And you can see how easily now that water just sits as reflective water. You got to build the base before you put on the highlights. And I'm throwing a little bit of pink in there to just give it a little bit of variety. And the white itself that's on there for the squiggles isn't necessarily white. It's like a 2 or 3 in the value scale. And a little wipe there to create a little more of a highlight on that tree behind the main tree, giving a sense of detail where there isn't any. And with that, I sign the painting and call it done. And we're going to cover a few details here. Each stroke is put down with a purpose generally. No mushing around, no creating mud. And at this point, I want to say thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this video, please hit that like button and share it with your friends. All the help is appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe.